Hey guys, it's Dorr with Tactical Hyve. I've got Dutch and Dave here with me. And in today's video, it's all about Black Hawk Down. You know, we're here at the 30-year anniversary of what transpired on 3-4 October in 1993. And, you know, we just wanted to make a video about, you know, what went on, how it went down, and really the lessons learned. Because we were all beneficiaries of those lessons learned. And I find it hard to find another point in history in regards to American Special Operations where in that 24-hour period where we learned more. You know, there were a lot of lessons learned, and they were all lessons learned in blood, and we owe those guys a lot. So, you know, this is a quick video we're going to do on that. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
But before we, you know, get into the nitty gritty, you know, got to pay the bills. And, you know, we'd like to thank Laser Ammo for sponsoring this video. Laser Ammo is a great company that has a lot of products geared towards that dry fire. You know, that at-home training, draw the curtains, do not swat yourself. Someone else swats you, it's the world we're living in. We do not swat ourselves. But check them out in the description below, guys. They've got smokeless ranges. They've got all kinds of cool stuff that we've used on the channel. We've also used in some of our classes. And it produces results. And you don't have to break the bank on ammo, so that's a plus.
Results are a plus.
Awesome. All right,
Yep.
Well, let's get into it. So I'm sure you're already familiar with the Black Hawk Down, what is known as the Black Hawk Down incident, but it was part of a larger operation that went on in the fall of 1993 in regards to the humanitarian violations that were happening in Somalia at the time, and specifically in the Mogadishu area. And so Gothic Serpent was born and implemented. And they'd been there a while. There'd been other operations that had gone smoothly. They hadn't kind of had that high level of opposition up until Irene, 3-4 October. That particular op was Irene. And, you know, I've got Dutch here and I've got Dave. They were both in the Army in the 90s. I was in grade school. But I do remember when it happened, and it did have a pretty profound effect on me because it was the first time in my lifetime where something like this had happened. And that is where my, you know, journey began as a kid, you know, trying to learn as much about it as I could. And then when I got to BUDS and, you know, at SQT, it was referenced. It was referenced quite a bit. This is why we do what we do. This is what happened then, and this is the lesson learned. All right, so Dutch, baby,
Dorr, sweetie.
You were in the Ranger Regiment at this time?
I was a 175 member. I was a young Ranger at the time. I was a little bit more mature than because I came in and did things oddly. I wasn't an 18-year-old Ranger, but I did not have a tab. I was not a Ranger School graduate yet, but I was a regular infantryman, a Ranger infantryman, and we were actually doing Range Week. So in Savannah, the post is very small. You don't have a lot of Rangers, so you had to go to Fort Stewart for that. You'd drive your happy butt 60 minutes to Fort Stewart, and then you would stay there for the whole week and shoot everything from the 249, 240, Carl Gustav, whatever. You do everything for the entire week, and you probably do some IMT work too and some patrolling or whatnot. So there we were beside a small airfield, a small concrete hard stand, and we were getting ready to shut everything down for the night, and Captain Bannister, our then company commander, came rolling up in a Humvee and said, hey, 375 is in contact with men on the, you know, with bad guys on the ground in Mogadishu right now. Be prepared to leave. You know, because it certainly was possible that we would be used as some sort of reinforcement, although, you know, we're nowhere near the country. So me as a young, well, I was a specialist. I was a young specialist with no tab. I was on guard duty that night, and you're aware and just kind of hanging out. And I was older than a regular Ranger is back then at the time, but I remember a helicopter come flying by, and probably he's just on his regular path. But here's this helo, and I'm thinking, that's it. They're coming to get us. We're leaving. We're going to Somalia. No, we never did. But that's all I knew about it at the time. And that was just it was kind of an eye opener too, right? You're thinking you're not going to go to war. And I mean, who's really thinking that anyway?
Yeah, you're sitting in Savannah, like
you have to be prepared to go to war, of course, but in the end, you really don't think it's going to happen until it does happen. That's a whole other story. That was it for then. So,
Right on.
I had a unique, I got a 3rd Battalion about 2 years after Somalia, but I was in the 3rd Platoon, BICO, which was the platoon for all that. One of my absolutely greatest friends to this day, he's actually one of the few dudes who is still active duty, and he was a Somali vet. We talked about it quite a bit, but so definitely lessons learned. Hell, at one point even Matt Eversman in the movie, that all kind of revolved around him. Matt he was my platoon sergeant for a while. They're also the 3rd Platoon. Good lessons learned, like you said, come out of that.
Yeah, and as you guys were getting into regiment and going through the training, and the equipment, was your cadre making reference to the event as far as why things were, how you had things set up a certain way, what changed, based on them coming back and the after action reports?
Yeah, when we were talking about it in some previous videos, and then me and Dutch were kind of kicking it around, but like the lessons learned about not wearing plates in your back, going as light as you can go, and everything's front towards enemy, without realizing that it's an asymmetric fight, really, and you have to be prepared for that. The better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it, as long as it's within the realm of reason, having your night vision with you, because we've all seen Gilligan's Island. It was a 3-hour tour,
3-hour tour.
Turned out to be a lot longer than 3 hours.
Yeah.
Same with these guys going out to be a donut force for another tier element to snatch up, HVTs is really what they were doing. And then, you're, I'm only going to be out here. We'll be back for dinner. No, you weren't back for dinner.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what else came out of it, to be honestly, when it comes to equipment in itself. I really don't. I don't remember it that way. As I went through my Ranger career and then advanced forward, later on we'd talk about that. And then some of the relationships that Dave and I talked about earlier, some of the relationships for sure changed when the big brother element, if you will, the higher tiered element that was with 375 at the time, there wasn't a whole lot of real training with and communication with those different elements. It was singular tribes, although you're working together. And I think you really saw a difference in the communication and then the education, the further education as we went on. It makes sense to work with this as a big brother element, to work with your smaller brother element to make sure that you get some of these things right, And why not, right? Why not educate with good leadership anyways? Why not educate, your fellow man? I think that like side plates came out of that. I think that ballistic helmets, the real wear of ballistic helmets came out of that. A lot of our guys were wearing like a bump helmet. There wasn't even a bump helmet at the time. It was just a Protex,
or a hockey helmets.
A lot of that came out of there. So I honestly don't know what else came out of there.
The carriers for regiment changed dramatically. Over the next couple of years after that. They're still changing. I'm not sure what they're wearing right now today, because it literally every year I go back and they're wearing something new. It seems like, but that's when the evolution of like, hey, let's try a new kit, and that's kind of changed the paradigm from being very regimented, where everything is SOP and it has its own spot, to, hey, let's make it fit that individual warfighter,
And there's only a couple of things now that are still regimented, and it makes sense, right? Like where your med kit is,
right?
What your med kit looks like,
right?
Tell everybody that there's a cross on here. That's a med kit. So that's kind of like SOP, right?
Yep.
At least it was for us.
Yep. Same.
And so I think it's smart for the lowest common denominator, because of course the Ranger Force, we're looking at 17 through 21 is the predominant age group really of rifleman, team leader. He's 21 years old, give or take. Riflemen are 18 through 20, and then squad leader is probably less than 26 year old. So you can see there that from the lowest common denominator standpoint, hey, we need to have a couple things that are at standard operating procedure to put your med kit here, or to put whatever tourniquet in there. So in case you fall, I know where your stuff is. etc. To me, the biggest thing was coordination. Really, teaching and coordination came out of there more than anything that I can think of.
The JRXs were a direct descendant, I think, to that.
Joint readiness exercise.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think and those were good. We, like you said, up to that point, we just independently, everybody trained their own metal task, mission essential task list.
Yeah.
Everybody trained their own metal tasks, and then you came together. And it wasn't until that happened, we started seeing some of the, the friction points when lack of comms or lack of SOPs or lack of, interoperability.
Well, it's interesting too. If you use this, if we can juxtapose this with what happened at Desert One, and this is how JSOC was born, really.
Yep.
So bad things that happen create good solutions. They really do. So that's a rule of warfare, really, in the end. Because Desert One was a bunch of different elements who never trained together and didn't have any real cohesion. They came together to try the mission. The mission didn't work. There was a couple of faux pas or a couple of mistakes. Of course, we left the aircraft on the ground and some of them burned up. They crashed, et cetera, et cetera. But that's how JSOC was born. So now we want pieces of the Navy, pieces of the Marines, pieces of the Army, pieces of the Navy. We want them all together, and we want to create the Joint Special Operations Command. So that's a good thing that came out of that. And really the relationship that came from the Rangers and the Big Brother element became a good thing too, without a doubt.
Yep, without a doubt. So he was standing.
As far as, the amount of gear guys would carry, there was a lot of going Winchester and, guys running really low on ammo during that operation. Did that add any bearing on standard operating, like loadouts for you guys going in there?
For me, I think, and it was years afterwards, but here's a identified problem, here's a material solution. Like, so the work towards that material solution was the Mark 46s and the Mark 48s, granted that was a decade after, but I think a lot of that, the identification of those, here's a problem set we have.
Tell them about the 40 and 46.
Oh, so, before that, everybody was running with the SAW, the squad automatic rifle.
Or the...
Yeah, 249.
Or the 249.
240.
The big boy.
Or the 240.
Or the 240. And so they went to the Mark 46, which is it's a soft version of the SAW, the 249.
Smaller, lighter.
One of my favorite things in this world.
Yep.
and the Mark 48, smaller version, lighter version of the M240, which is a 7.62 I-51 machine gun. Yep. The big boy, if you will.
I do think one of the biggest pushes I saw come out of that, I think that really has taken the whole force by storm, is management of trauma.
Yeah. Thank you. Medical training. Yeah. Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah. And you're looking at the lessons learned there, and how far does it advance from just being a Ranger first responder, or before that it was just combat life safety.
Yep.
And then Rick was like, hey, we need to have something our own. And Ranger first responder was born. And then from there, I tended to copy them. But that was wildly apparent with, medical training down to the lowest level is wildly important.
So standardizations of IFACs, number of tourniquets, tourniquet placement, commonality on person so that everybody knows in the dark in a panic where everything is. All lessons learned from there, because there was a lot of casualties being taken in a very short amount of time.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Dutch, as your career progressed, and you started getting into higher levels of precision and basically, all around capability, was that something that weighed heavily on the guys that were bringing you up as far as lessons learned and, the amount of equipment you would wear based on, going into an urban environment?
And I wish I could tell you exactly, yes, these 4 or 5 things were from there, but to me it was transparent a little bit. When Dave talked about his platoon sergeant was Matt. Matt was obviously there during the conflict on the ground in Mogadishu, and he obviously was a better platoon sergeant because of it, I would think. So I had 2 or 3 of the guys that were on the ground in Mogadishu were my instructors as well later on. And that obviously any kind of lesson learned like that from a real life combat environment is going to make you a better trainer, and it's going to allow you to say, okay, these are the things we need to integrate into training to make it harder, but to bring these things to light, because we've seen this happen. Now we've seen these guys bleed out in seconds because nobody knew how to do a tourniquet, or we've seen this. We know we need to put more technology in the medical, like the quick clots and things like that, because it would have saved somebody's life at the time, without a doubt. I can't tell you specifically what those were, but without a doubt. And those cats were awful good trainers when I was going through. And so, yeah, overall, yes, but I couldn't tell you the specifics.
So I didn't get to the team until 11 years after, in 04. So a lot of this stuff had already been figured out. But, you know, by the mid 90s, when you guys were coming up, was plates and helmet mandatory, nods no matter what outside the wire.
Yep.
Was that all pretty much a mandatory?
Yep. Mandatory.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. It doesn't matter. Whatever training event you went to, if you did a company level live fire training exercise and it was in the middle of the day, you were bringing everything, just like you would in the middle of the night. Because anyway, without a doubt, when the way Dave and I train, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, or I want to stay in my own circle, but the crawl, walk, and the run, even though you did a crawl, walk, run, whether the first thing you did was a rehearsal, you still did it with kit on. The second thing you did was a blank fire training. You still did it with all your kit on. And then you did a live fire training with all your kit on. And then the run would be at nighttime. Same coordination. You had all the same kit on every time you did one of those things. That's full plates, that's helmets, that's night vision gear, that's all your ammunition. I know there's a question I wanted to bring up to you though, as I segue in there. So the regular infantryman usually carries 210 rounds of ammunition. That's 7 magazines.
Yep.
Do you know if the dudes carried 7 magazines in Mogadishu? That's the first question. I don't know if you know that.
No, I don't know. To be honest, that's a good question.
And then it leads to this. How many magazines did most of your men carry in Iraq?
Yeah, it depends. Like, so Iraq guys, it was not uncommon for guys to carry 5 mags.
It's true. That's so.
Yep.
And for me too, the same kind of thing. I changed that, right? We typically didn't carry 210 rounds of ammunition anyway. But yeah, we did want to shoot, move, and communicate faster. We wanted to be faster than anybody else. So just like some of those scenes in Band of Brothers or Saving Private Ryan before Recour Manor, right? So you see Captain Winters say, weapons and ammunition only. You hear Captain Miller say, weapons and ammo only when they go to the machine gun at the radar station in Saving Private Ryan. So get rid of all this heavy stuff. And so you can move faster. Yeah. Because you definitely have to move fast.
What we did do in that, and I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, they're good.
We offset what we weren't carrying with speedballs. So every half, every gaff, that's a ground assault force or a helicopter assault force. But every one of those, we would have speedball packages set up.
And Dorr, you have an interesting story about speedballs and stuff like that. Why don't you touch base on that?
So speedballs are a rapid resupply system that can be put into any type of vehicle, be it an aircraft, a boat, a truck. You can hang them off the back of tanks, whatever you got to do, even a Toyota. Rapid resupply was a big deal for us in my training, kind of, getting up to the operational level. And I was told that this was directly because of the Black Hawk Down incident.
It's interesting, yeah, because we always, contingency plans, we always use a speedball, right? So what happens if you're here much longer? Well, one of the things you need to do is have a speedball prepared, which we would. Speedball usually contains small arms ammunition, it contains grenades, it contains maybe heavier system batteries, batteries for your radio systems, heavier systems, heavier ammunitions for your mortars,
sometimes
or your
water.
Water, certainly water, all kinds of stuff like that. But you had that set aside. Now, the key for me, I think, when you brought it up earlier during off camera, was they certainly could have used speedballs. My only argument was, I'm not sure they could have really delivered it. That's because the mass of people, the mass of the enemy that was there, one, and then the small streets would be another one. Would it be possible to land an MH quickly and dump out speedball, although you're going to carry much less on an MH helicopter? Sorry, that's a small aerial delivery Little Bird helicopter as compared to a UH-60 Black Hawk. But did they even have the room? And oh, by the way, after 2 Black Hawks are already shot down, are they going to chance it at all?
Exactly.
Risk the force.
Yeah. Are they going to even risk more of the force? And
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not trying to pretend to get inside the heads of those decisions there, but
yeah, we were not there, but we know it was very chaotic.
Yeah.
And I think going back to the ammunition the amount of mags the guys were carrying. I'm a bit of a military history guy, I always have been. And I think the go-to for at least the assaulters was about 6 to 8 mags.
Wow.
They had that that Rhodesian chest rig that kind of velcroed and clipped into that black plate carrier of the time.
Called it the rack.
Yeah, and then on the Ranger side, I think it was much more. But you got to remember, like, Sabma was in its absolute infancy. There were no the assaulters all had nods. They didn't have them with them, unfortunately. But the guy that did Rangers at that time, everybody was issued a pair of nods. They just didn't bring them.
Right.
But like PEC 2s, we were still pretty far away from. And that saw mod and being good with that saw mod, you don't have to carry as much ammo because you're just so much more accurate. You're not fighting on iron sights in the nighttime. We had our gen, we had lasers and really good nods.
Those guys were running.
We were able to point shoot out to 100 yards easily in the dead of night. And they definitely did not have that ability.
No. And in the case you see the movie, in the case of the movie too, right? They don't bring their night vision. The Rangers don't, so they're at a disadvantage there. And then if that really happened, I'll be honest, I think it did happen, but that's a leadership issue.
But yeah, I mean, I know personally, no matter what it was, even if I was in like a combat zone adjacent, for lack of a better, a semi-permissive environment, if it warranted plates and a helmet, you 100% had to bring your knives. Like that was just, and it needed to be on your person. In the Philippines and other countries where, there's a war, but not really, and we weren't, kinetically direct action involved. Did I put extra ammo and my nods and stuff in like a backpack? Yes, but my backpack was right there with my primary weapon, and it was never not within arm's reach. You just had to have that. And our leader, and I was in a leadership position by this point in my career, but I had, 1 or 2 rungs of leadership above me, and everybody was lockstep. It's not a discussion. You will have your nods. You will have batteries. We can never allow that to happen again. And it all came from 3-4 October. Yep. So, but lessons learned, and they were new to nods, and the military doesn't evolve very quickly when it comes to new technologies as fast as, say the private sector. I mean, I know obviously at the top, they're innovating it all the time.
They are, and they do. A lot of this stuff trickles down, but you're right. Yeah. It takes longer for the rest of the forces to glom onto the good idea and to be part of the good idea fair. I've seen plenty of great ideas that all of a sudden don't filter down at all. Multicam issue, for instance. So we got when we got a hold of multicam, and we started studying multicam versus all the other camouflage choices. Multicam is a clear winner. Multicam is the choice. It blends best in all these different environments. So we submitted that information. You think they took that information? No, they didn't. No, they didn't. And so the rest of the Army, off camera, as you expressed already, they were forced to wear this ACU. Whether it was a political decision, I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was let me line my pocket with a political decision here, or this company wants this and they're giving me, who knows what it was, doesn't matter. But multicam was shunned, and only special units were wearing multicam. And then all of a sudden, does the Army wear multicam now?
They sure do.
Yes, they do.
Pretty much everybody.
But they don't call it multicam or something, right? And because there's an issue with the first designers and producers of multicam, which is Cry Precision, and so they're becoming a political issue about all that. So, dude, it's just so funny. Look, the warfighter recommends this. Do it.
Yeah, definitely by our era, the amount of ammo guys carried did go down. I remember there being a 7-mag SOP on my first deployment, which was a urban kinetic deployment, and that dropped very quickly because we were able to resupply off the gun trucks. Almost
there you go.
Running gaff.
That's my next point. What is your mission, though? Right? It always comes back to this. How many times have we said it? It doesn't matter ad nauseum, but what is your mission and what are you prepared to do? Because if I want to be fast as possible doing a CQB environment or something like that, and trucks have brought me here, if trucks brought me here, then if there's a lull in the fight, I can go get some more ammunition in a truck. In Mogadishu, they had none of those choices. They didn't have that choice at all. So, again, if you're on your own in the middle of some recon, desert action, whatever you want to call it, mobility exercise, you want all the ammunition you can probably carry with you, right? Because the first thing you want to be is prepared. You don't want to rely on that para drop that doesn't go in the same place that you want it to. Case in point, the bridge too far, right? So all the resupply, zones that the English were using to resupply the first British para were overrun by the Germans. So the Germans took their resupply. Thank you very much.
They were eating well.
And communications said, you can't tell anybody where you are. So they couldn't even adjust it. So it's just, that's a whole nother video topic. So,
well, thanks for being here with us, guys. We just wanted to put this video out because let you know that, their sacrifice wasn't in vain. And we went into GWOT with those lessons learned. And it was something that was preached to me from the very beginning when I was going through training. And my hat's off to those guys, the gallantry and the sacrifices at every level, and you've seen the movie, you've read the book, about like back in those days, the Rangers didn't have support the way that modern special operations has dedicated support. It was actual scrolled, tabbed, combat ready Rangers that were in those support roles. They were working in admin, they were cooks, they were this, they were that. And, that was the I don't know if you call it a QRF, but that was who they pulled from at their base of operations at the airfield. And those guys were jocked up, ready to go, and they sent it. And they did it in thin-skinned vehicles, driving through heavy enemy fire in an urban environment. There was tons of roadblocks. There were comms issues, all of that stuff. They didn't have those mobility, assault, command, control. You didn't see guys rolling around with 2 radios in those days.
They had international and other language, force multiplier.
Yeah, then the whole UN debacle with the melees and everything else. Just a lot happened all at once, and those guys got through it. And they probably had a, who knows, 1 to couple hundred kill ratio. I mean, it was massive. There's no official tally on how bad Red Force took it during that 24-hour period, but it's estimated it could be over 1,000. That's kind of, and that is what it is. It's not something to brag about, but they definitely hit hard and fast, and they made those adjustments, and they adapted right there in the moment.
I think, and you hit it right there when you talk about the reaction. They hit it hard and fast. They didn't leave anybody behind. The odds were against them, of course, but the United States infantryman, right, the United States soldier, United States of America soldier, we don't like to take no for an answer in particular. And they courage, tenacity, strength, right? They fought through it all and to get their mates back. And yeah, it was not easy work at all.
I think it succinctly captures the Ranger Creed, their actions.
Oh, 100%.
100%. Yeah. Do I be the lone survivor?
And one last point I'd like to make before we stop is, we know that they were not given the amount of support that they had requested. They were given a very tight number of how many personnel they could have. AC-130s were not authorized. Armor was not authorized organically for TF Ranger, nor was attack capable like Apache's Cobras. Yep. And the Cobras were within striking distance on that day. The Mew was there off the coast. But during your guys' time, I know I never did, but did you guys ever feel like you weren't fully supported? That you didn't have, the full backing of what you needed from the U.S. military?
No, I was completely jaded and blessed. I've never been in a situation where I needed.
I've actually sat on target before and looked at awe. And it sounds weird, but I wish my mom could see.
Yeah.
I wish
how
badass what the American might is.
Yeah, it's American. Yeah. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
Truly a monster.
Now, if you ever have the chance to see like a Ranger Company live fire exercise, dude, it's something to see. It is something to see.
Yeah, it'd be like an entire SEAL team all at once, which never happens. But yeah, I've gotten to see a little bit of it. It is quite impressive, the speed at which it is conducted. But anyway, guys, thank you for being here. We just wanted to give a shout out to our veterans that came before us. We learned a lot, and we appreciate you. And like always, if you like this content, give us hit that like button, smash subscribe if you haven't already done so, and we will see you next time. This is Dutch, Dave, and Dorr out.